What's up? You got your boy Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe, cause today we're gonna be talking about the Roland DJ-70 keyboard. What had happened was... So the year is 1992. A group with members originally hailing from Seattle, Maryland, and Philadelphia all came together in Brooklyn, New York, to form the group known as Diggable Planets, wherein a year later, their hit single Cool Like That, the member Butterfly makes the famous line, "We be to rap what key be to lock, cause I'm cool like that." Also in 1992, an unknown producer known as Pharrell Williams joins together with superstar producer Teddy Riley to make probably one of the biggest stamps ever in the New Jack Swing era, and that's Rum Shaker. All I want to do is zoom, and a poom poom. Rum shake the earth. And also in 1992, the video game company Capcom released its Street Fighter II, the Championship Edition. Now you can choose all the bosses. Vega, Bullrog, Bison, Sagat, you can choose them all. I don't think the young cats really know how monumental Street Fighter II was. This was the first time where, like as a kid when you come home from school, after school you come home around 3 o'clock. Well, when Street Fighter II came out, kids were coming home from school around 8 p.m. They were ringing their parents' bell at 8 p.m. talking about they're ready for dinner now. That's how impactful Street Fighter II was when it came out. But in 1992, Roland was on a roll. Roland was doing their thing. By this time, they had offices in Taiwan. They had offices in Hungary, while all the other countries was recovering from a recession. Roland put out an office in Italy. And in this Italy office, they had dreamers. Boy, did they have dreamers. I'm telling you, the engineers in this office, they were coming up with some of the most innovative ideas for Roland at the time. Roland Italy was responsible for the E-Series keyboards, known as the Intelligent Synthesizer. Remember like the Intelligent Hoodlum? Tragedy Gaddafi? Roland Italy was like that guy. Trying to create the most intuitive way for you to arrange and utilize your keyboard. But also Roland Italy was staring dead into the eyes of the DJ market. Yeah, they were scoping out the DJs, looking at every single one of them. By this time, the music genre known as jungle was causing a craze across Europe, all across London, all across England. Jungle was popping off. And Roland Italy took notice. And in 1992, Roland Italy decided to step into the game by releasing what would probably be one of the most trend-setting DJ pieces of equipment at the time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the Roland DJ-70. Now, we gotta be careful with this one, folks. We gotta be real careful with this one. You're getting 24 voice polyphony. You're getting 37 velocity-sensitive keys with aftertouch. You're getting a built-in subtractive synthesis engine. You're getting a low-pass filter, a high-pass filter, and yes, a band-pass filter. You're getting 8 pads, 8 play pads on the unit. You're getting a pitch bender joystick. You're even getting a special turntable-style scratch wheel where you can scratch and do all the DJ effects on it. You're getting time stretch on this keyboard. You're able to resample on this keyboard. And you're also getting an 8-track real-time phrase sequencer. This was fantastic. This answered everything. This is what I've been waiting for all my life. Roland finally understood what the DJ needed. This could never be a toy, could it? Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. When Roland released the DJ-70, a lot of folks was not impressed. They were not impressed with the unit. Sure, a couple DJs liked it. They said, okay, this is kind of cool. I could hit the keys and trigger my sample sounds with the keys, and I could use the scratch wheel to make some cool effects. But other than that, it's the same old, same old. Folks didn't like the fact that it didn't have an internal built-in hard drive, but instead it had a floppy disk drive, which can only hold a maximum of up to 4 megabytes of memory. 4 megabytes of memory? That was just too small. Even the ASR-10, which came out around the same time, could be expanded to 16 megabytes of memory. Another thing folks didn't like was the janky sequencer. It used that same old phrase sequencer kind of thing going on, which made it basically like a tape recorder. But what made it even worse is, once you recorded something on the track, you couldn't go back and edit it or move it or anything like that. Whatever you recorded, that was it. It just stayed there. The only thing you could do is delete it. The machine didn't even have quantize. Could you believe it? No quantize on this keyboard. They said everything is going to be live in real time. And I know what some of y'all might be thinking was like, okay, well, you know, it's for DJs. You know what I'm saying? They don't need all of that fancy stuff. But that's not true. Roland actually marketed this keyboard as a full keyboard workstation. They said not only can you use it on stage, live and direct, but you can also use it in a studio environment. I'm sorry, when the DJ-70 came out, people were disappointed. It's kind of like when you found out wrestling wasn't real. Remember when you was watching the WWF and the news report came out that wrestling was fake and you just didn't want to believe it? You was like, no, man, no. So you telling me all those off the top Macho Man Randy Savage elbows and Hulk Hogan leg drops aren't real? It was world shattering. You started looking at wrestling matches a little differently and you started saying, well, why do they stomp their feet whenever they throw a punch? And when someone throws someone to the ropes, couldn't they just hang on to the ropes? Why do they have to bounce back like a rubber band and run into the clothesline? I mean, I would hang on to the ropes or run outside the ring or something like that, right? That's how disappointing folks were with the Roland DJ-70. But as the years went on, just like the seasons, things started to change. All of a sudden, you started to see more folks in the electronic production lane, the hip-hop producers, and just musicians, period, started picking up the Roland DJ-70. You had guys like Gene Michael Jarre that was responsible for doing hundreds of symphonies and making a bunch of great soundtracks. He started praising the DJ-70 as one of his dope pieces of equipment. You had guys like Mike Patton of Faith No More. Remember them? You want it all, but you can't have it. I think that's how the song went. But he had the Roland DJ-70. The wild recording artist Yoko Honda started using the Roland DJ-70 in a bunch of her performances, to a point they labeled her a master of this keyboard. And not to mention producers like the great Teddy Riley himself started picking up and utilizing the Roland DJ-70, to a point when the second edition of it came out, he had about 6 of them. What was it about this keyboard that all of a sudden all of these top musicians and producers wanted. The number one thing was the sound. You gotta remember, even with all the quirks that this keyboard has and all of its limitations, this thing has the same sound engine as the Roland S-Series samplers. The Roland S750, the Roland S770, the Roland S760. This thing shares the same sound engine. This sound has its own personality, almost like how the SB1200 has its own personality. The Roland S-Series has its own personality. This will punch through your mix. You will notice it, and it's a great sound. It's a warm sound that stands out. Another thing is this unit has a full-fledged synthesizer built into this unit, which allows you to, it has a section called partials where you can layer like 4 samples and run them through different filter blocks, amplifier blocks, modulation blocks, send them all through a LFO and just modulate the whole thing the way you want it. You can add all kind of aftertouch effects on it, like when you're pressing the key, the longer you hold it, all of a sudden the sound just changes into something ill and dope. This unit is crazy. This thing has a cue function, a DJ cue function, where if you select that page, when you connect your headphones to it, you can actually audition the sound. So the sound that's coming out of the speakers is not the same sound you're hearing in your headphones. So this is great for DJing and just queuing up something on the fly. So the initial workflow of the Roland DJ-70 is pretty easy. You go to the sample parameter settings page and you can choose a variety of options of how you want to get your sample process started. You can choose the sample frequency, whether it's 44.1 kilohertz or 22.5 kilohertz. You can choose whether the sample's gonna be mono or stereo. You can choose the sample time. You can choose whether you want the sample to be triggered by a threshold, a manual trigger by pressing the start and stop button, or a pre-roll trigger buffer to start your sampling. After you're finished sampling, the sampling is automatically looped and mapped across the keyboard for immediate use. Simple, right? But you could do a ton of cool things with the samples. Like you can split up your keyboard to have the lower notes play, let's say, vocal effects, the middle notes to play some drum sounds, and the high notes to play some strings or something like that. You can organize this keyboard in just so many ways. Now, when the Roland DJ-70 came out, it was about $2,000, which was a lot of money for this keyboard at the time. In actuality, it kind of had a slow start, so Roland actually did drop the price. But then when they came out with the Mark II edition, which offered you a SCSI and also a max of 32 megabytes of memory, Roland brought the price back up to $2,000. But all in all, the DJ-70 falls in the middle. You have guys that love this unit and everything about it, and they brought multiple DJ-70 keyboards. And you got guys that can't stand it. They can't stand the fact of the limitations on the unit. I think the DJ-70 is a dope keyboard, but it's not for the green. If you get it, you have to know what you're doing. So that's the Roland DJ-70 keyboard sampler. What had happened was... So this is your boy, Dyreck, aka Native Shades, reminding you to like and subscribe. And I'm signing off.